Hello, brothers and sisters. I just want to share a couple of quick dreams that I had, three of them actually, and then give a little detail as to how these dreams have also correlated with the ones that I've had for really the last 10 or 11 months. So the first one was I got off of a train and I was heading to New York City. But when I got off of the train, I thought that the train was taking me to Times Square, but instead I got off in some very dark, run-down area. And as I climbed off of the train, I began to realize I was not at all where I was supposed to be. Now I went around this dark area asking people if they knew how to get to Times Square, and none of them knew what train to take or where I should go. So as they walked around, there was violence and crime, and there was all kind of illegal transactions occurring. I saw drug deals and different kind of things, and they were happening almost like in plain sight, where everything was going on, but nobody seemed to care. And there was also one transaction which was a military soldier, and he was handing his gun to someone else, and they were trading something for his gun. So I went from there and I went back into the train station. But the train station at this time was more like a prison. And there was actually a guard standing watch over a prisoner. And there was another prisoner or someone from the outside who was standing in the distance by the stairs. And he kept calling to me. And finally he asked me to hand the man that was basically a prisoner. He had a brown coat on. He asked me to hand him what I thought looked like a belt buckle. And what I learned was that the inmates were using it to conceal guns. So he kept pestering me, so I took this buckle and I handed it to the man. But there was a guard who saw me do this. And I wasn't actually able to hand to the man this belt buckle because he refused to grab it from me after he had known the guard spotted us. So then the guard ran towards me, and then I tried to hide this buckle behind my back. But he told me to place both hands in my pockets, pointer finger first, and then thumb, so that whatever I had would be revealed. Now finally I broke down and admitted that I had this buckle. But then I began to explain to this jailer what had actually happened. And I explained that I was lost, had no idea what was going on, and I told him I thought that this buckle was just a buckle, belt buckle, and that it wasn't anything illegal or that shouldn't be handed off. And I began to plead my case to this guy about all the crime and the things that I had seen in the city right out in the open. Yet this guard was trying to throw me into jail for handing a man a belt buckle. So as I declared my case to him, I asked him to call off his backup and follow me. So he did that. And I pulled him aside and um, I told him that if he jailed me, I would be kicked out of school and I would lose my nursing license. So this jailer had mercy on me and he released me. And then right from there, the dream switched into an area by a place where I grew up at, actually, a supermarket right by where I grew up. And I was running around this parking lot, and then there was a missile that was fired into the air, and it was a white large missile, and it changed directions, and it could fly horizontally and vertically. And finally, as it flew high into the sky, the people looked and were terrified of it falling to the earth and exploding. But I ran towards this missile, and as the missile fell to the ground, it pierced the ground in front of me, but it did not explode. So basically, it impaled the ground right beside me, but it missed me. But it was close. And then the dream transferred again to being in a college setting, and I had gotten my curriculum, I had gotten my class list that I was to go to. And I first talked with somebody who I had recognized to be the dean of that college. And I went from class to class, and there was a man who was a teacher of mine, and it was some reading class. And he told me to get rid of all of my outside distractions and to basically continue to get my education there. And after this, he met with me in private, and he told me to stay in school above everything else and listen to him. So I told him I would not drop out of school, and he said, "Do not drop out, even if it interfered with my children." And I told him that my children were the reason I was in college to begin with. And then he smiled and withdrew. So I couldn't figure out where to go onto my fourth class. It was the fourth class I had on my schedule. It didn't have a room number beside it as to what to go to. So I asked some other people around me, but they also didn't know where this class was. So I sat my schedule down on a trash can just to read through it, but it fell into the trash. So I reached in to get it, and then the school changed again. It changed immediately once I reached into this trash can to some outdoor party event, and I was actually sitting on bleachers, and there was a table around us. And when I sat around this table was full of women. There was no men there. It was only women. And there was one particular beautiful woman at the table with me who I didn't understand at the time in my dream as I was going through this that she was interested in me, but she was. And then all the other women seemed to have disappeared from the table. It was just her that was left. But after they had disappeared, I looked back at this woman who was there, and she changed after I had glanced back at her. And then at that point, everything else changed again, and there was a whole bunch of transgender women and men, and all of them were just dancing and drinking and basically stumbling around drunk. And even there was a man who was sitting on a chair, and he had just finished drinking a glass of something, alcohol I'm assuming, and he fell back on the chair and hit his head off of the bleachers, and everybody was just laughing at him. So right after that moment, the dream changed one last time, and it changed to a bank. And I entered into the bank as they were asking for me specifically to come into this bank, like I had some kind of knowledge of what happened. But then it flashed again. It wasn't as knowledge, it was like I had some kind of superpowers. So I was changed into like a hero wearing a hero costume. And they called me back to the bank to examine some kind of bomb. So I picked up this bomb, and it was a 3 batteries mounted together. And I told them that it was called a hot bomb, and when it got hot enough it would explode. But then I took the bomb and told them to put it on ice, and I threw it down on the table, and again the bomb didn't explode. I told them it was okay, and from that point, that's whenever I woke up. So many things in that dream that coincide to what I've been through and what I know that I can't even begin to explain them, but I'll just say the dreams anyway. The second dream, I was actually at my house where I grew up, and I was outside, and it was beginning to get dark. And then it changed to where the house that I am now, and then it changed to another house. And at this house, I was outside with my son, and we kept hearing noises. And then my mother-in-law came over to me, and she said there was a bear in the woods that was crossing the road. So I went into the house to look at the bear, and I saw that it had crossed, but it was very far off. So then I took my son out near a fence that was around the yard to see this bear. And the bear at that moment began to charge towards us. And it was a large black bear, even saying in my dream that it was about 300 pounds. But then this bear started acting strange, and its appearances started to resemble more like an ape than a bear. And its eyes were turned bright yellow, and I was terrified, so I grabbed my son and took him into the house, and my mother-in-law was scared for him and for me, but more scared for him. The bear, or this ape, whatever it changed into, it then started to break through the entrance of the door. So I ran into my bedroom and grabbed a .22 caliber rifle, but I could not find any bullets for it. There was no bullets in the gun, and even looking I couldn't find any. So I asked my brother-in-law, who was also there, if he had any bullets, but he also did not have any. So this bear climbed up a ladder that was in front of the house, and there's a big bay window out front, and it started to knock on the window. So I just grabbed like a pole or a stick or whatever I saw to it, and I ran towards the bear to try to scare it away. And then the bear actually ended up going down off of the ladder where there were a group of dogs that chased towards this bear. And they kicked the bear out of the fence, basically. And then that's when my father-in-law got to this house. And we had explained to him everything that had happened. And then he went outside to look at this bear, which then this bear was in the woods and it was shaking a tree. There were branches and fruits and different things that this bear was shaking off of the tree. And the bear turned and looked at me, and then there were other bears all of a sudden that appeared around us. And one came from the right side of me, and I fled back into the gate of the yard to get away from him. And I had just made it inside of that gate before the bear could come through it. Before I was able to close the gate, two dogs ran towards this bear and followed it out, and the two dogs chased this bear away. Now there was panic at this time. Everybody was running and screaming, and there were dogs barking, and there were bears that were flying through the woods. Their eyes, they were just a glowing yellow eyes, and they started to scream or howl using some kind of language at us. And I just went back into the house and I kept trying to find bullets for this gun, but still could not find them. So then finally I went back outside, and one of the dogs that was near the gate was getting ready to be attacked by this bear. And then my mother-in-law, she started to scream over this, and then that dog was carried off. But then there was another dog that came up that saved that dog from being eaten, barked it off, and then I hurried up outside to bring the dogs back inside of the fence. And then just as I got them in, I shut the fence, and the bear could not come through at that point. Then all of us who were here in this house, we went outside of the house, and we turned to the right around the corner to the side of the house. And in my dream, I had this feeling that there was some reason why everything had happened, and that particular moment was where I was to look up. And it was still dark outside, but then there was a deer that started to run towards me, and this deer, I don't even want to say a deer, it looked like a deer, but this animal had wings, and as it ran, it began to fly, and it flew directly past and beside all of us that were there, and as we were watching it, we saw where it was going into the direction of the sky. And that's whenever I looked up and I saw the sky, and the sky lit up like a swirling blue flame, which just appeared out of nowhere. And there was an object that looked like the moon, but it had a blue swirling stripe crossing over it. And I remember in my dream calling it a kachina. And then beside that, to the left of it, were this deer or bird, whatever it was, it began to fly to the left of that object. And I saw an object that it was the same size almost, but this was a white or red planet or star, and this actually had wings coming out of it. They were just like the deer that had flown past me and up to the sky, and it was also swirling around, but it was a red color. And then that's when the sky went from dark to light, and something began to pulse the entire sky in this white pulse. And then I stopped doing that, and I looked at my father-in-law, and I told him that he should have been the one to buy a 12-gauge shotgun, because I couldn't find the gun that I was using. I kind of discredited what was going on in the sky and began to talk about the bears. And I explained to him everything that had happened. But then he pointed back up to the sky and said, "Why are you worrying about the bears whenever you see these two stars up in the sky?" And my dream ended. I don't remember a single thing after that. And then there was a third dream I had, and again, I was at home where I had grown up. And I was walking through the yard, and I was approaching two tigers in the distance, and I thought these two tigers were tame or friendly, but I still feared them, and I came upon them with caution. And as I saw them, they attacked and killed a deer, and they brought this deer to the ground. And just as I saw this, I stopped walking towards them, as then I believed they were going to attack me because they had just attacked this deer. And as they looked at me, I laid down on the ground and I sat down in a submissive kind of position, and I put my hands over my chest. And then there was a third tiger that came up behind me, but this tiger just sniffed along me and started to rub against me and nudged me, and then ran off toward the other two tigers. And then there was a man that had the two tigers that were off at the distance. He got them to sit down onto the ground, and he was petting them and rubbing them and laughing, basically. It was someone who appeared to me almost like a lion tamer. And they seemed to love him. They were licking on him. But I, meanwhile, remained somewhat terrified of everything that I had just seen. And then that's when that dream ended. So I can... Now I have understanding of the stars in the second dream that I was referring to. I've had 3 dreams where I've had not the Lord himself, not a son of man in the sky appear, but a sign that I knew it was him shown to me in 3 different dreams. In 2 of the dreams that I had, I put a video up on the one where I believed it was referring to a rapture event. Just before a large heavenly body had struck the earth, even after trees had been destroyed along its path, I stood up, me and my son looked up to this star coming, and all of a sudden time stopped, just as though time had been just stopped dead in its tracks. And then I looked up again, and appeared above this star was the sign of the Son of Man that I saw. And immediately my clothes changed to white, my son's clothes changed to white, and we both said, Jesus is coming. And then I had digital vision take over, where all of a sudden everything that had ever played out was shown to me, and I had knowledge of everything at that moment. And the Lord even specifically told me when I woke up from that dream, I would not remember what that vision had revealed to me, what that knowledge was that I had seen. And then I had another dream later on down the road where, again, I looked up in the sky, and it was through some kind of event where there were spaceships or something that was just attacking people on the road. I saw like beams of light coming down from them. But at the moment I looked up, everything again went digital after I saw this sign, where again I was just shown all kind of things. And as I put everything together, as I sit here, and you can go through some of my other new videos, which shares more about how I've been given the information of what's about to take place, and then after what that takes place, I believe that at that moment, whenever that star or asteroid or whatever it's going to be that comes down to, in the blink of an eye, kill half of the Earth's population, one taken, one left, I believe that as soon as that happens, that is whenever the 144,000 are going to look up, and they're going to see that sign of the Son of Man. And the Spirit of God, the Spirit of the Lamb, is going to come upon those 144,000 at that moment. And they are going to be passed over. They are going to be protected from that event with only the power that the Lord gives them in spirit. For they follow the Lamb wheresoever he shall go. As Jesus testifies in the book of John, very truly I tell you, there will be ones who come after me, which will do even greater works than what I have done. I believe he is referring to the Spirit that he will send to those 144,000 upon the destruction where half of the Earth's population is taken away by that star or that asteroid that hits it. And by that Spirit coming upon them, they will be the shepherds for 3.5 years throughout the time period after that, in which they will bring many, all of those who are left actually that belong to the Lord, they will bring everybody back to the Lord, either upon death or whatever the case is for those people that the 144,000 will shepherd. I know that for that 3.5 year time period, the kingdom which is divided in Daniel's revelation, in Daniel's vision, he sees a king. The kingdom is divided of clay and iron at the foot, and it is destroyed, but not by human hands. I've testified that the United States of America is that last kingdom, that last beast. But what I now recognize even more so from that is that the division that occurs, it's not between anything that we're seeing on TV. That last kingdom is divided by the cataclysm. For the kingdom of iron, the United States is not destroyed by human hands, but in an hour, the great city is destroyed. So the United States is, or close to it, enough to wipe out the United States, basically. That's where this event is going to take place with the star. And those that remain in the United States, there will still be people who are alive, um, but they will be shepherded by the 144,000, or they will die shortly after that event, or however that plays out. I haven't been given understanding of that. But it's going to be the same throughout the entire world. And the 144,000 who remain to be the shepherds after that cataclysm, where immediately the earth is brought down to half its population, and then subsequently after that it continues to decline. I mean, that's going to be hell on earth basically at that time. And without the Spirit of God given to these people, there's not going to be basically anybody that would be able to survive it other than the government of clay, which forms from the ashes of the destruction. The kingdom divided of iron and clay, that's the seventh king and the eighth king talked about in Revelations, where the eighth king must remain only for a short while, and then it goes to its destruction along with the seventh. The seventh kingdom, the United States, the iron, that will form the world government that gets set up after that event for everybody that has been building their underground bunkers and shelters who know of this event that's coming. They will be well prepared for it, and they will establish the world government shortly after that event takes place. And eventually they will force people to take a mark so that they may buy, sell, trade, basically just like a census where Joseph, Mary, and Jesus were protected for 3.5 years upon Jesus' birth from King Herod. In that 3.5 period, they're going to census everybody, and everybody that is going to agree to all of this, they're going to receive the mark, because we're going to see technology that we have not seen yet. And this technology is probably not even given to us from us. It's probably given to us from the fallen angels, who also, I believe, have to make their appearance at that time. So that technology that they're going to force upon people, if you take that mark, basically you're going to end up either being killed before the wrath of the Lamb comes, which is immediately after the 144,000 are in a twinkling of an eye taken out, or they will die before then, or they will go to wrath. Because if you receive that mark, you basically understand that you have no idea, no thought, no spirit guiding you to not receive it. You're just going with this world and what this desires of this world are. Only the people, and it says there will be those who will stand firm and be against this. Those are the people who are of God that will not take this mark, because they already know what's happening. It's playing out. They've already read it. They've already seen it. They've already recognized it. So there will be many people who also won't take that mark, and they will be shepherded out of here. But they will also be put to death. But great is their reward in heaven, and they will understand that. And the Lord will put it into their hearts that they understand. Just like Peter willingly took his crucifixion, that as they are put to death, they know where their reward lies. They will immediately go to heaven. And then they will await, basically, the complete destruction, rebirth of this world. The only ones who will be here by the 3.5 year period at the end of it, blessed are they who are here for 1,335 days. That's the 144,000, which in a twinkling of an eye, after the angels remove their protection from the earth, right before the trumpets start to flare, which is the wrath of God right before all of that, they are taken up to heaven, up to Jesus. And then immediately there are two witnesses who will begin their testimony against the people still alive on the earth, in which nobody will repent from, nobody will do anything with it, for they are all destined, as Judas, to go to their destruction. That's the 7.5 year period. In 2021, the United States turns 245 years old. The signs in the heavens, as people on YouTube have testified to what they have seen, they will match up to being something that has never been shown before in our history, and never will be shown again in 2021. 2021 is also the year that America turns 245 years old, or time times half a time, generationally speaking. The kingdom made of iron and clay has been given authority to reign for a times, or time times and half a time. Generationally speaking, that's 245 to 275 years. So everything completely matches up to that time period. And from my perspective, with everything that the Lord has showed me, this is basically all I can do, because I know the events that are happening. I know there are others who know about this, and there are others who have been given the same cup that I am to experience. But to everybody else, they're going to look at me or listen to me, not believe it or not care about it, or believe that what they have been showed is correct or anything. And that's how it goes. We're all going to be given different cups to drink, and we're all going to be shown different things through the Holy Spirit. The only people who will ever listen to my videos at this point, I'm completely assured of that, are people who genuinely believe in the Lord and understand that a lot of the people, most all of the people that you hear explaining about the rapture coming before tribulations, I firmly now understand that is their cup to drink. They will be raptured. They live in the United States, right where this cataclysmic event, this star, this asteroid, whatever it is that comes down from the heaven, that displaces every mountain on the earth, their cup is going to be indeed upon that time to go to the Lord, for they will be taken. It's going to be in death, but it is nonetheless the same thing. You're going to the same place, regardless of how you get there. It's just as you go on from that point, as the multitudes, the millions are killed in that event, the millions go up to the Lord. Well, there's your rapture event before tribulation. Blessed are they then who die in the Lord, and will be there whenever I get there. As you continue on right after that, many more people will come to the Lord during those 3.5 years, because they will repent and wake up. And blessed are they who has come out of the beast, for then they recognize it. Great is their reward in heaven. We talk about how Jesus proclaims it everywhere throughout the Word of God, proclaims rewards in heaven are different. Some are 100-fold, some are 60-fold, some are 30-fold. Just like one of the servants was given 5 bags of gold, he turned it into 10. One was given 2 bags, turned it into 4. The only one that didn't get any treasure from that was the one who decided not to do anything with what he was given. So we know that rewards in heaven different, treasures in heaven are different, but everything, even the lowliest in the kingdom of heaven, is unimaginably greater than what we have here on this earth. So if their cup, if the people who firmly believe that's going to happen, if that's their cup to drink that, then so be it. Blessed are they. They're going to receive their cup. My cup is different than their cup to drink, and I will be here through the entire way through it, only led by the Lord to see it. And I know that there is 139,999 people, or 143,999 people out there somewhere that have also been given this feeling or this revelation or this thought as to what is happening. So maybe I'll meet one from this video. Maybe that's not my cup to drink. Maybe my cup will be different. All I know is that what the Lord has shared with me is that that's what's going to happen, and where I am through all of that. I know and understand, but nobody else will know, understand, or believe until it begins to happen. And then you will remember things like this from people like me who will still be there at that time period, and you will be led to one of us, or you will be led to something directly by the Lord. So, brothers and sisters, if your salvation lies in the one whom you love, the one whom you trust, Jesus Christ, it don't matter when you're taken, don't matter how it happens. We are all going to the same wonderful place upon this world being reborn. God bless you.